everybody, my name is MINOU, and today we're going to be talking about Leafpool's Wish. This one's going to be a bit on the short side because it is just one novella and I don't have a huge amount to say about it, but I did want to mention it because I love this novella trio. Like, I don't know if you can tell, I've already made 2 episodes on it, but I love Tales from the Clans. Like, I've never read this before. This is like the first reaction kind of a thing. The last novella reviews, I've read the novellas before. Like, I was just talking about them. It was kind of like old news to me, but this is like super exciting because I just finished Leafpool's Wish today, and yes, I love it. I love it, but not quite as much as Tiger Claw's Fury. I'd give it, a solid 8 out of 10, whereas Tiger Claw's Fury, I was up with 8.5 or 9. Before we get into the reason I put it a little bit low, I am going to give you a spoiler warning. In the first couple of minutes, I will be talking about my general review and a very brief summary, so that it's like spoiler free, so that you can see if you want to get it for yourself. But after that, I'm gonna go deep into detail. Deep. This is a story about basically Leafpool. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but basically it's about when she was pregnant, I guess, and what she did and how she convinced Squirrel Flight to join her and help her, and just her struggles, I guess, after, like, almost immediately after coming back with from the whole Crowfeather adventure. So basically you start out, she doesn't know she's pregnant yet, and she's just like talking and chilling and doing medicine cat duties. I think I liked Tiger Claw's Fury better because in the beginning, the very first scene, action, super exciting for me as a fan. This one was a little bit less because it was just Leafpool, dealing with thorns and Kit's paws and talking to Brackenfur, all of that normal stuff. So I was less interested from the get-go. So that's probably why I put it a bit low, because Tiger Claw's Fury, that entrance, I don't know why, but like that scene was so big for me, and I'm sure it was big for a lot of you too, and just having it from Tiger Claw's point of view. Yes, I loved that. But we didn't get that with Leafpool's Wish. No big entrance. But we did learn a lot about her time, I guess, as being pregnant, I guess. Like, really, the main thing, though, like, she was pregnant like crazy. She could barely walk in the end. Why did nobody notice that she was huge? Like, yeah, Mouse first said, oh, you look a little plump. But besides that, like, there was a pregnant medicine cat walking among them. And they were just like, oh, hi, Leafpool. Like, not noticing anything. I don't notice anything. Nope. Like, what? How did you not know? How did you not know? Leafpool's super lucky. Her clanmates are, like, blind. They can't see anything. But she's lucky. And the fact that Squirrel Flight was so obviously not pregnant the entire time, either this confirms that she's insanely fluffy and very short, and so it's kind of hard to see her belly, or it's just like, it confirms that Brambleclaw and all his clanmates are just absolute idiots. So, basically, Squirrel Flight, not pregnant. Leafpool, insanely pregnant. And then, somehow, when Leafpool gave her kids to Squirrel Flight and they came into this camp, they weren't like, oh, what? I didn't know you were pregnant. And like, oh, wasn't Leafpool the pregnant one? She was looking a little bit plump. And oh, isn't it ironic that you two go out together just about when she's about to give birth? And like, how did no one find out? How? What? And like, okay, I did like some parts of this book though. It was well written. It was interesting. And really seeing how much Leafpool regretted it was interesting. I really didn't like that scene, though, with Crowfeather, where she just had to reject him. It made me so sad. Poor Crowfeather. I always wonder, what would have happened if Midnight just missed them? Just missed them by, like, a few tail lengths and just continued to ThunderClan camp. What would have happened? I really want to know. I loved the scene where, like, they were getting more development, though, like Leaf Crow development. I loved that. Really, really sweet, really fun, really nice and cute, and I liked that. I usually don't ship Leaf and Crow very often, like, very hard at all. It's mostly just like, oh, yeah, that's my favorite Crowfeather ship, but it's not a great ship, I guess. Favorite Crowfeather ship, though. But that just gave me a little bit of a boost. That was nice. That was really nice to see. I just wonder, what if Midnight had missed them completely? I'm sure Leafpool's wondered this at some point too. Like, what would they have done? Would she have eventually gone back? Would ThunderClan have gone without a medicine cat? What would happen? I'm like, One big thing that we've learned is that they actually spend a good 5-6 days in that tree, in that hollow tree where Holly, Lion, and Jay were born. They actually stayed there for a while, and she actually got to experience being a mother for a bit, and so that was neat. That was sweet. We also got to experience the joy of cat birth for the 90th time this time. Like, there's hardly a book where someone's not giving birth. Like, what? It's always happening. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's to be expected. There's like 45 million cats in ThunderClan, but couldn't you just skip out on that a little bit? And couldn't you okay, we know we're good, but whatever. I did like Leafpool's wish though. It was well written and it was interesting, and it was nice to see how Leafpool felt about the whole thing. It was kind of depressing though, to be honest. She was always sad and doubting herself and feeling just miserable the entire time. So I guess it was just good. It was good. I actually would give it a bit of a lower rating actually, probably a 7 out of 10. Leafpool's wish, interesting to read. Nice. It's not bad. We learned some interesting things about Jay, Holly, and Lion's early days, but it's not spectacular. It's just like your average novella, I think. Then another thing, Lion, Jay, and Holly. When they were young, they seemed pretty I don't know. They remembered things okay. They were kind of okay with everything. They remembered the names of each other. They remembered that Leafpool was the place to go when you need to eat and to fill your belly. They remembered most of everything. They remembered that they liked living in the hollow tree. So then guess what happens? Pretty much 5 steps out of the hollow tree, they start looking to Squirrel Flight for milk. Excuse me. And, they totally forget about Leafpool in the span of, 10 minutes. Yeah, they're young, but how come they haven't forgotten each other's names? How come they haven't forgotten Leafpool and Squirrel Flight's names? How come they haven't forgotten that they lived in the hollow tree yet? How can you just forget that you came out of Leafpool and not Squirrel Flight? What? that just really confused me. And how J-Kit was oh, why aren't you walking with us anymore? As if, I can't believe that they just forgot so fast. I know they're young. They're really young. But it just seemed weird. It just felt strange. They knew how to talk. They knew how to walk. Their eyes were open. They'd been alive for a good 5 days, which basically in Warriors means that they're the age of a 6-year-old. And then they stay that way until they're an apprentice. Because basically how it goes though, because really 2 days after being born, they're just running, playing. They know their names. They're dancing, walking, talking, all that jazz. In a span of a few days, and then they stay that way, maybe learning a couple of games until they're an apprentice. So I feel like they were advanced enough as far as Warrior Cats lore goes, and as far as how things usually are in Warrior Cats, to remember which cat is their mum. Come on, why? I know, sometimes kids, they, really, babies, they kind of, as long as you have food, okay, I love you, but Squirrel Flight didn't have food. What? I really don't understand that transition. That transition felt really jerky and very unemotional. I mean, on Leafpool's part it was, because she was all sad and stuff, but the kids, 5 minutes ago, Leafpool was your mom, and then all of a sudden, after in an instant, In an instant, they decided that Squirrelflight was their mom. I was like, what, no, why, no, bad. I was just so confused. I was so confused. That's the main thing that I really didn't like. The whole thing with the fox and the badger, the way that the fox fought the badger, that was really cool. That was really cool. It felt like the Jurassic Park 3 moment where the T-Rex and the Spino were fighting. Yeah, that was exactly the same. It was like battle of the big beasts. Yeah, that was really cool. And to see how like the fox was all like a mother and stuff, it reminded me of how Hollyleaf found the fox in the tunnel and like kind of helped it until it was old enough to go out on its own. That was really cool. I really like moments when you see that the vicious predators like the fox and the badger are not quite as bad as they seem to be. Like, you know, with Midnight and then with the two foxes in Hollyleaf's story and Leafpool's Wish respectively. Like, I kind of like that, but at the same time, it kind of like makes them less scary. So it's kind of half and half. Like, yeah, it's nice because like, oh, this is adorable. But then it's also kind of like, oh yeah, but cats are supposed to believe that they're the most ferocious predators, and now that kind of makes them feel like less, less ferocious and scary and terrifying. But oh my gosh, that badger and fox fight, I really wish we got to see more of it and like see like blow for blow what happened, because they were just hiding in a tunnel the whole time and we didn't get to see any of it, even though it was so epic. Like, I would have loved to see that. I wonder how often foxes and badgers fight, because I know cats and foxes fight all the time. Cats and badgers fight all the time. I wonder how often the foxes and the badgers fight. That was because I would love to see more of that, like more animal on animal fighting, like foxes catching rabbits or foxes fighting badgers or all that jazz. I would just love to see more of it. Maybe like foxes catching fish. They don't do that. Some animal catching a fish, like an egret catching a fish or something. I'd like to see more interactions between animals, because you know they do that a lot. Like, every animal has its impact on some other animal, and we don't get to see that very often. Like, the foxes are fighting for survival just as much as the cats are. They're running into just as many badgers. They're fighting for prey just as much. They're dealing with their children just as much. I just really would wish to see more of the animals in the woodland and how they interact and how that goes. And that's probably going to be boring for some people, but I think it would just make the woods feel more alive, and that's like a place where cats hunt mice. Like, it would just feel more lively and like wild. But you know, that hasn't happened since the badger fight, so I don't know if we'll get more of that, but I would love to see it. Honestly, I would love to see it. That's about all I have to say for Leafpool's Wish. Would I buy this novella again? Yes, because Tiger Claw's Fury is in it, and Leafpool's Wish isn't bad. It's definitely worth a read. It has some interesting stuff in it. The badger and fox fight, and the way that like Leafpool actually got to be a mother, and the whole Leafpool rejecting Crowfeather thing that we never knew about. That was really cool, but like, it wasn't that great. It felt a bit like a waste of time, just a little bit. Some Warriors books are just like that. They're interesting for most of it, but then just at some spots you're just like, why am I reading this, you know? So, I like this. I would definitely get this novella trio again, even though Leafpool's Wish is in it. It doesn't ruin it, for sure. Probably yes, a solid 7 out of 10. It's good. It's good. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and a comment, and be sure to subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.